Hello, welcome to Point of View, the channel you can trust. Today I'd like to talk about misinformation that gives a bad name to YouTuber. The title of this video is Misinformation Destroying Social Media.
Thank you for watching. Making video is time-consuming and hard work. Kindly click the subscribe button and click the like button so as to encourage us to make the videos you like. Thank you and happy watching.
This information is a global problem. Since disinformation is a conflict between nations, it is necessary to consider the unlawfulness of this information in the context of international law. And international law should regulate this information. Misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation are all harmful to society. The source of this information, rumors and hoaxes, comes from the root of social media. Loss of confidence in traditional media, low levels of thinking and news literacy, shift in business models, and malicious actors. All these, if left unchecked, could destroy social media. Funny investigative style. Regular YouTuber fans will know these three buddies or baddies. It depends on which side you're on. Just for laughs, we will investigate in a satirical way into the doings and behaviors as to why they are being labeled as racist, liars, money grabbers, CIA moles, cult members, white supremacy sympathizer, anti-China, and many others. But for this video, we will be selective and keep in a manageable way. This video is for fun, without any intention of defaming or harming anyone, without facts or documents. If it is inadvertent, we apologize. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. These scammers, I'm using a polite word, are being paid to do propaganda of the worst kind. They are spreading malinformation, information with a basis in reality, spreads specially to cause harm. These scammers are doing for the money, scamming social media viewers, subscribers, and patrons, and they are also funded by undisclosed sources, but we know where the funds are coming from. You've got scammed. Patrons and American viewers are being ripped off through these three operatives, corrupting good spirits with hatred, falsehood, and racism. They are doing it for vengeance and secret sources of money. Money, money, money.
Remember when I crushed one of China Uncensored's videos into tiny pieces of trash? This is so simple to do for me that it's almost boring. That particular video highlighted China Uncensored's appetite for war with China. But this Chris Chappell fellow, as we'll see, clearly doesn't have much to do with the message.
Whereas Qigong usually is just about doing exercises to keep fit and healthy, Falun Gong goes beyond that and requires its practitioners to live their lives based on three dangerous, subversive principles: truth, compassion, and tolerance.
Someone else is squirting information into his gray sponge cake. But who? To find out, let's start from the beginning. Chris Chappell, in his own words, "I got really sick when I was 19 and went to the hospital. The doctors said I might have some rare heart virus, and I had a friend who was practicing some Chinese Qigong exercises. He showed me those exercises, and I immediately got better the next day. The doctors had no idea what was going on, I had no idea what was going on, and they discharged me from the hospital." Qigong, that's a really vague term, basically meaning Chinese exercises. A white 19-year-old kid in New York healed a heart virus with a single day of Chinese exercise. Well, at least it's not that Falun Gong cult hiding behind the slogan, truth, compassion, and tolerance you just mentioned. Just Qigong exercises. Then he goes on to talk about how great China Uncensored is doing from Trump being in office, which is driving up the fear of China markedly, and mentions several things he hates about China. And then he ends the interview by saying, Taiwan is doing pretty well, even though it's not even really a country. I do believe there's a lot to learn from the 5,000 years of Chinese history. I hear you, Chris Chappell from China Uncensored. Taiwan most assuredly is not a country, and it is doing pretty well. And there's a lot to learn from China's history. Though the way you said that kinda sounds like you wanna sell me something. Okay, so then anyway, China Uncensored was born. And their first video was something about the movie Looper in China. Yep, in October 2012. We can even see a later comment by someone, who are here to watch the first YouTube video made by China Uncensored. But if we look at a now deleted version of Chris's Twitter, we find that actually the first video by China Uncensored was not about the movie Looper. No, it was a 3-part marathon about something called Falun Gong. Falun Gong is an extreme racist doomsday UFO cult. No, I'm not being hyperbolic. I was born and raised in Scientology before I eventually got out of it. I know a UFO cult when I see one. And in China Uncensored videos, Chris talked about Falun Gong so much over the years, it's actually surprising.
Falun Gong is a spiritual practice. Falun Gong, 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 Falun Gong.
Oddly though, he's never described them as a cult, nor detailed their beliefs. The closest he seems to come is vaguely saying that they're influenced by Buddhism and that they practice Qigong, the Chinese exercises. This is like saying Scientology is a stress relief therapy. Chris tries to bring up Falun Gong as much as he can, but without alerting his followers to this fact. Take, for example, this recent comment. Look at you promoting cult here on YouTube. Or this one. Or this one, in which someone specifically asks, could you clarify your link with Falun Gong? Chris replies twice, but never answers the question. The way he communicates reminds me of my cult family. They too speak about truth, but they don't have the courage to tell any. Anyway, it seems that pressure was mounting on China Uncensored because a few months ago they released a video telling you the truth about their funding.
More than 1 million subscribers. Who really funds China Uncensored? Mostly you. 72% of our income comes from direct viewer support.
Wow, over 1 million subscribers. It's true. Let me show you on Social Blade the social media metrics counter. China Uncensored. That's not the right channel. Weird. Anyway, this video is about funding.
Well, some people have suggested we're funded by the CIA or Falun Gong. We're not.
Oh, this isn't just a video about funding. People are saying that Falun Gong is making China Uncensored. And this is your video dispelling the rumors. Carry on.
And with no single big funders, no one can tell us what stories to cover or how to cover them.
You're independent. Got it. No one's feeding you anything to tell us. Thanks for finally ending any stupid ideas that China Uncensored is just a front for Falun Gong.
Our small team produces 3 to 4 YouTube episodes of China Uncensored every week.
Well, double that, because you also have America Uncovered, which is another channel largely focused on hating China, and you have a podcast about hate, plus your clan meetups, lots of travel itineraries, multiple Patreons, Twitters, Facebook pages, merchandising, apps, websites, all the research, graphics, music, logistics, on and on. Not at all a small operation, but you're clearly trying to convince us that it is for some reason. So let's just go with it. Sure, China Uncensored is just 4 people, and none of them have anything to do with Falun Gong or its propaganda network, New Tang Dynasty.
And on top of that, we also turned those episodes into a half-hour TV show version, which we give to New Tang Dynasty Television.
So in addition to all that work I already mentioned, apparently you also have time to make a separate TV version. That's a lot of work. And, okay, I see. So you just give New Tang Dynasty these videos and nothing more. That sounds kind of suspicious, but come on everybody, let's take his word for it.
The network started by Falun Gong practitioners.
Started by Falun Gong practitioners? This is New Tang Dynasty you're talking about. The staff of NTD literally call the leader of Falun Gong their master when he gives them the instructions on how to operate. I'm not making this up. This is a matter of public record. New Tang Dynasty was started by Falun Gong practitioners because it literally is a propaganda arm of the Falun Gong. It serves no other purpose.
New Tang Dynasty doesn't pay us, but they do put Chinese subtitles on every episode.
Well, Chris, I guess you've proven that you're independent. NTD doesn't have anything to do with you. They just add some subtitles. That's nice of them. And, oh, sorry guys, I'm still trying to show you the metrics for China Uncensored on Social Blade, but I just can't find your channel for some reason. It's not coming up when I try the name China Uncensored. New Tang Dynasty, NTD. Their channels on YouTube are sometimes made with the same prefix, like NTD on music or NTD Japanese. I wonder, no, might as well try. Oh, what do you know? The name NTD China Uncensored pulls up your channel. And that's because the username of your channel is, for some reason, NTD China Uncensored. And now that I think about it, didn't I see NTD all over the place in your video descriptions? Weird. That is so weird. But anyway, sorry, go on, Chris.
Right now we're trying to save money by recording this show in a low-budget way, which happens to be a green screen taped to the wall of Matt's living room.
Right now, you're shooting in a living room. Right now, like for this particular video. You know, Chris, I totally believe you that you guys shoot in a living room, and that's beneath you. Maybe you should try using a studio for this kind of thing. Here, I'll help you find one. Let's start by looking where, I don't know, New Tang Dynasty is located. 229 West 28th Street, New York, New York, 10001. Here we go. There is a studio there called Big Apple Studios at the exact same address. They do work for various Falun Gong organizations, part of the propaganda apparatus. Well, anyway, you're welcome for helping you find them. Oh, hang on. It looks like you do use this studio after all. Or wait, is that you?
Good evening and welcome to the Big Apple Studios. I'm your host, Jason Smith.
Weird. So weird that you use NTD in your channel name and you use a studio in the same building as NTD. And who is this small team you mentioned earlier anyway? You've got credits on this video. The one talking about how you have nothing to do with NTD or Falun Gong. Let's see here. Your team is Shelly Zhang, Matt Gnizda, Seamus Light, and Chris Chappell. Okay, so just 4 people, none of which are New Tang Dynasty Falun Gong death cultists. Shelly Zhang. Where do I know that name from? I feel like it came up during my research somewhere. Oh, that's right. I know it from here, from New Tang Dynasty. Producer? That's weird, Chris. Oh, and Matt Ganezda? Oh, he's from New Tang Dynasty. China analyst. Oh, I'm sure he's really insightful. But Chris, did you not know about this somehow? I hope you haven't been busy doing all these totally non-Falun Gong Chinese exercises to notice all these Falun Gong cultists around you. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot about Seamus. Seamus Light. This Seamus Light, the video editor at NTD. Wait, video editor? Isn't that what you credit him for, video editing? How could that be true, Chris, unless NTD were creating China Uncensored? Oh, never mind. No need to answer that. He's put it on his website for all to see. He works at New Tang Dynasty. And what does he do there? He's a video editor for China Uncensored. It turns out that Falun Gong directly creates China Uncensored. But how could this be, Chris? How could literally every single person in your team be Falun Gong zealots without you knowing? I mean, you said you healed yourself after you did some stretches or something. And what else did you say again?
Well, some people have suggested we're funded by the CIA or Falun Gong. We're not.
You're not Falun Gong, and clearly you're a truthful person, knowledgeable in all things mainland China. I mean, just check out that background you've got there. I see buildings from Shanghai, Beijing. Is that Guangzhou? Nice. But I mean, come on, Chris. You haven't even been here before, have you? That background isn't real. It's fake, intended to suggest to your viewers that you understand China. But that's not all it's suggesting to them. Chris, your followers are too stupid to see you for who you are. But I know cults. I know you probably better than you know yourself. Did you think that you could fool me? A yellow item rotating on a blue square. White patterns scrolling in boxes. And these three squares. Let's adjust sharpness, saturation, and zoom. On the right, we have a red shape with a blue background. In the center, a yellow shape with a blue background. On the left, a smaller red shape, which alternates to a green shape. Your completely dishonest misrepresentation of facts about China is why I have always dismissed your followers as idiots, Chris. But maybe I need to learn to be a little bit more compassionate to them. Even smart people can be fooled, I suppose. Let's see where these graphics came from. That's right. Even as Chris Chappell is telling you to your face that Falun Gong NTD is not behind his message. They are literally right behind him. The spinning yellow shape in blue, Falun Gong garbage. The white patterns moving around are copies of the globe of a Falun Gong set. You see, my dear viewers, it turns out that Chris was lying about Qigong. That's what he tells people these days. In an older interview with Epoch Times, one of the other Falun Gong propaganda outlets, you won't find this interview in either of Chris's two dedicated sections on Epoch Times' website. Nor will they tell you about these interviews if you go and visit Epoch Times at the exact same address as Big Apple Studios and NTD. Epoch Times interviewed Falun Gong practitioners. I guess they call each other practitioners a lot. Where have I heard that before?
Falun Gong practitioners, 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 Falun Gong practitioners.
Anyway, Epoch Times interviewed Falun Gong practitioners after their master spoke to them. One of them was Chris Chappell from New York. He said he began practicing Falun Gong in 2004 when he was 19. That's right, China Uncensored is Falun Gong. The entire staff is Falun Gong. Chris Chappell is Falun Gong, and he has been the entire time. Years before China Uncensored ever began, Chris was spreading the beliefs of Falun Gong. Beliefs like extreme anti-race mixing, by the way. Beliefs which are completely contrary to any notion of compassion. Beliefs like going to a racially segregated afterlife. That's not a joke. Beliefs like that are the opposite of tolerance. But speaking of jokes, let's take a look at some of his early work in the cult. He's said in several places across the internet that him and the rest of his team were journalists. So let's take a look at some of that journalist work that he's done. He began by copying Jim Carrey and then moved on to hot dog eating competitions, then violin competitions,
Chris Chappell brings us the sights and sounds from New York City.
Merkin Hall is once again playing host to NTD's Chinese International Violin Competition.
And dance competitions.
Chris Chappell takes us to a very special part of a traditional Chinese culture. Let's have a look.
Muscles, strained and taut, bend at impossible angles. NTD's 2010 International Chinese Dance Competition has begun. This is Chris Chappell, NTD, New York.
Designed to attract attention and talent to Shenyun, a dance troupe that spreads propaganda for, you guessed it, Falun Gong. Every program Chris was on was NTD, Falun Gong all the time, the classic echo chamber effect.
Do you guys remember Take Your Kids to Work Day? My dad worked for UPS, so I got to spend the day on an awesome truck.
And by 2012, Chris's master had him channel his attention to pushing for World War III.
Chris Chappell 是新唐人著名的节目主持人。
Excessive, continuous, misleading, inaccurate, and biased media pressure on China. Falun Gong created China Uncensored and continues to back it in every way. 100% of the China Uncensored team, including Chris, is part of the Falun Gong propaganda force. Their mission is to create war with China. They will never, ever stop until that happens. It's not a joke. But more on that in another video. Chris has adopted truth as the first principle in his life. Yet he's a complete liar. When you examine how he speaks, especially about Falun Gong, it's always slippery, vague, incomplete. Never honest, is it? You want to see what honesty looks like, Chris? I took no money to make this video. The amount I will make off of it will not even be worth my time. I created this video completely myself, except for the subtitles. I edited it, and I did 100% of the research with no help from anyone. And while we're being honest, Chris, well, while I'm being honest, I often feel like I'm the only foreigner who gives a damn about this issue. And it's depressing to care so much about something and see so many people fall for the dirty tricks of warmongers like you. That's honesty, Chris. If you believe some guy living in New York is your master and medicine is bad and all that other crazy Falun Gong crap about demons and energy balls, just come out and say it. Be honest. Be true. Forget China Uncensored. Be Chris Uncensored. Tell the world how you feel about mixed race couples, Chris. Get your master on a video with you, and why don't you both tell us how you feel about other races? And guys, if you want to help me feel like I'm not the only person in the world who cares about China-US relations anymore, support these videos. Share them. The war dogs are vicious, and it's going to take a lot more than this to actually ward them off. Do you see what I've made here? You know how many videos I can do on this? So help out. But before I go, everyone, I just had to include some footage of what Chris is like when he's not reading a Falun Gong script. Classic stuff right here. Enjoy. Here's a great argument from Chris. His fellow Falun Gong cult member he's talking to says plastic surgery should be banned. And here's his very thoughtful reply.
Well, I mean, that's why there are regulations. It's not an unregulated field. Like there's, people have to be certified. There's a lot of steps to go through to become a cosmetic surgeon. It's not like this run and gun thing in the back alley of New York.
That's right.
It's, people get consultation. It's treated as like serious surgery. So in the off chance something goes wrong, I think it would be silly to ban cosmetic surgery because there might be consequences of that. Because that really shouldn't be, when you say you want to ban something, that's involving the government in a decision people have of what they want to do with their money.
Right.
Which is really just a complicated thing. That doesn't make sense. Like people should be allowed to have cosmetic surgery if they want to.
And here's a great argument from Chris about the value of education.
Well, it's strange because like now they're saying like in the U.S. like it doesn't really matter, like you don't need to go to the top schools. You'll just be paying a lot of more money for the same degree. Really, if you want to like go to a top school, you should wait till a graduate school program. Though there are still differences in the universities in the U.S. like Harvard, Yale. Those are still like big, world-renowned universities. So it does make a difference, but from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like it makes as much of a difference.
Well, the Chinese.
Oh, whew, that is brutal. Dude, just stick to your master's script. See you, everyone. Don't believe everything you hear out there, guys. And no matter what these people say, it's okay to love China. Thanks, everybody. 谢谢.
I guess, though, the Times feel that the burden of proof is on the victims. That's how a sane world works, right?
Good point. Good point.
Falun Gong should be labeled a heretical organization.
I got to go to baseball game.
Thanks for watching.
I'm going to be talking about the 5 things that foreigners hate about Chinese people the most. And for all my Chinese friends and subscribers, down in the comments, I'd like you to write the 5 things that Chinese people hate about foreigners the most, because that's an upcoming video that I'll be doing with my wife. So please give me your suggestions down there. Anyway, let's begin. What are the 5 things that foreigners hate the most about Chinese people? I have to reiterate, because it seems that most people don't understand what generalization is, but I am, of course, generalizing here. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is the lack of compassion and empathy. This must be the #1 thing that both myself and all of my foreign friends gripe about all the time when it comes to living in China, or hello, 中国人. Okay. Anyway, like I was saying, the lack of compassion and empathy that you see in China is astounding. And I'm talking about all sorts of things. If you see somebody get hurt, it's very seldom people will actually step forward to help them. And of course there are reasons for this, which I've discussed in the past. You know, there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of people taking advantage of other people here. So people are scared. And also, you know, when you've got such a huge amount of people, you get that bystander effect. Either way, it is still a massive, massive problem here. So not only is it when it comes to helping other people, but animals as well. It's very common to see people boiling animals alive, you know, cooking animals alive, doing all sorts of terrible things to animals, beating them, because there's absolutely no law against animal cruelty in China. So also the whole thing about, you know, killing animals for their parts for traditional Chinese medicine, things like that. So, you know, the lack of empathy and compassion is really quite disturbing, and I place that as the top of the list. #2, lack of foresight. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that in China, you've got this phenomenon where people will grab something now without thinking about the future. They don't really have any long-term goals when it comes to things like business, friendships, that kind of thing. So if an opportunity arises now for, let's say, for somebody to make 10,000 RMB, but if they were to take that opportunity now and forego making 100,000 RMB over a year, they would take the 10,000 RMB now. And of course, this sours a lot of business deals, because, you know, you might order a product from a factory and they can save costs by giving you a faulty product. And so they do that. And then you end up with a faulty product and you never do business with them again. And this is very unfortunate, because it sours business deals, like I said, and it also sours relationships, because there's very much a grab now, don't think about the consequences sort of thing going on here in China. And this is what leads to things like food scandals, fake drugs, the milk powder scandal. All of that kind of stuff comes out of this short-sightedness. Next thing I'm going to talk about is rude social etiquette. I'm talking about things like cutting in queues, urinating in public. It's usually the children that do that, but spitting in public, you know, these kind of general things. Talking very loudly on the phone when you're in a public place, like a bus or a train. These are really a big bugbear of most of the foreigners I know as well. And it's one of those things that I think is, you know, generally the older generation is responsible for this. However, the younger generation, a lot of them have picked up this habit too. And it's really annoying, and I guess the only thing that can fix this is education. You know, it's not good to spit. If anyone here watching this video thinks it's okay to spit on the floor, on the ground when you're in public, you know what? That spreads disease. I don't know if you ever learned anything about disease and pathogens and stuff, but don't spit because it's bad for everybody's health around you. And it's disgusting. Do it in the bathroom. Okay, rant over. Number 4, having money as a god. Now, this is a bit of a byproduct of religion being completely wiped out during the Cultural Revolution, etc. But I'm sure you can notice behind me we have all the New Year's decorations. They're up there, but a lot of this is all about bringing fortune and bringing money. You see, it's all about coins and fake coins and stuff. It's all about money, money, money. And you know, if you spend any time with Chinese people, you'll start to realize that money is the most important thing in their lives. Of course, money first, family second. Maybe money, food, then family, or money, family, then food, something like that. But those seem to be the top 3 priorities in, you know, daily life here in China. And it's unfortunate because it leads to a lot of the societal problems that happen here. Because money is put above morals, and in other words, it supersedes morals, people will scam, do immoral things, sell their own mother if they can make money. You know what I mean? This should probably actually move all the way up to number 1, to be honest, because all the scams, all the scandals, all the, you know, poisoning of children, etc., etc., all comes from the fact that people put money above everything else. And I'm not saying that Western people aren't greedy, and that Western people don't chase money. Of course they do. Depending on the country, etc., etc., people do terrible things for money. But the problem is, it's ingrained in Chinese society that money is so important that it gets put above life, and it gets put above people's well-being, and it gets put above friendship. And it's really annoying, because if you're from the West, you know, money, at least the people I hang around with and my family, etc., money is not that important. Money is a tool. Money is something that you use in order to, you know, live a nice life, or in order to do things, but it definitely isn't put above the livelihood of other people, and it's never put above your morals, because morals can't be bought. Number 5, lack of individuality. Now, this may come as a surprise to some of you out there, but China has a very collectivist society. In other words, people like to be the same. People don't like to stand out. This is, of course, a product of history. It's been like this for a long time. It's Confucianist values and, of course, communism and all that kind of thing. The nail that stands out gets hammered down. So people like to all be the same. They kind of like to have the same ideas. They kind of like to aspire to the same things. They like to drive the same sort of cars, wear the same sort of clothes, have the same sort of hairstyles. You get the picture. It's basically a very sort of collectivist society. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to say that should change, but it is something that really annoys foreigners. You know, like I said, that's the point of this video, are the 5 things foreigners hate about Chinese people. And this is one of them. And the reason for this is, of course, people don't make up their own minds. People don't have their own ideas about things. And this is incredibly apparent if you ever look at the comments section of my videos. When somebody thinks that I've said something bad about China, which happens quite a lot because there's of course a language barrier, and sometimes some of the things I say in my videos can very easily be construed as harsh criticism of China. So what will happen is you'll get somebody reads it incorrectly, goes online on the Chinese internet and says, this foreigner is saying blah, 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 blah. Next minute you'll see like 10 million comments, okay, not that many, but you'll see hundreds of comments all saying, you are a blah, 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 in my comment sections. I delete most of them because they're all the same. Anyway, next month, somebody will discover something I've said in my videos, and then they'll go post it online, and then you'll get another 100-odd comments saying the same thing. Oh, you are a blah, 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 blah. So there's all these funny rumors going on around the Chinese internet about me. You know, things like my wife supports me and that I make money by saying bad things about China, and I've got foreign powers paying me, and you know, this kind of crap, which of course is nonsense. But it's really funny to see the lack of individuality. And so when somebody says something or spreads a rumor, an incorrect rumor, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and instead of having their own individual thought, they just follow the leader like a sheep. So this is quite annoying. It's also annoying when it comes to, I don't know, just the vibrance of life. If you look around, you'll see the same shops. You know, even though they're not the same chain, you'll see the same sort of shops, same sort of signs, same sort of food, same sort of attitudes. And it doesn't matter if you're in the very south of China, the very north, the very east, the very west. You'll find a lot of this. Anyway, next month, somebody will discover something I've said in my videos, and then they'll go post it online, and then you'll get another 100-odd comments saying the same thing. Oh, you are a blah, 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 blah. So there's all these funny rumors going on around the Chinese internet about me. You know, things like my wife supports me and that I make money by saying bad things about China, and I've got foreign powers paying me, and you know, this kind of crap. Which of course is nonsense, but it's really funny to see the lack of individuality. And so when somebody says something or spreads a rumor, an incorrect rumor, everybody jumps on the bandwagon, and instead of having their own individual thought, they just follow the leader like a sheep. So this is quite annoying. It's also annoying when it comes to, I don't know, just the vibrance of life. If you look around, you'll see the same shops. You know, even though they're not the same chain, you'll see the same sort of shops, same sort of signs, same sort of food, sort of attitudes. And it doesn't matter if you're in the very south of China, the very north, the very east, the very west. You'll find a lot of the same sort of attitudes and the same sort of things. And so it can actually be quite boring. And this is one of the things that we don't like. Hello. Hello. Where are you? There you are. 你好. 很高兴认识你啊. Cool. But you know, the thing is, at the end of the day, get past this noisy truck. I should have added noise to the list because I'm pretty sure you noticed just during this video how noisy China is. At the end of the day, I do absolutely love China, and the reason why I'm pointing out these 5 things is because I secretly hope that these 5 things will improve. Because if these problems can be overcome, I think China will be an incredible place, you know? And so I'm also looking forward to the feedback from my Chinese subscribers and Chinese fans, because I would like to know from them, from their point of view, what they hate about foreigners, because it's always good to know what you can improve. So I'm looking forward to the feedback. Thank you guys for watching, as always. It's good to be back in China. You know, I've just come back from that trip to America, and that's coming soon. In fact, in a couple of days, you'll see the first episode of our new series about Chinese food. It's going to be good. It's going to be great. Anyway, enough waffling on. Love you guys. Can't wait to see you in the next video. And until next time, you know the drill. Stay awesome. Same.
Hey Lawwinners, it's Lawai86 here with another video. And I'm here to talk to you about something that I shouldn't have to talk to you about, to be totally honest with you. To be absolutely frank, why shouldn't I have to even respond to allegations such as these? Well, it's actually going to serve 2 purposes. The first purpose is to clear the air if anybody has any suspicions or has been hearing rumors. And the second is to be very educational about this, so you guys can learn about the tactics that the Chinese government has been using and telling its sycophants and its little lackeys to go around and use. Imagine like a cartoon villain basically telling its little minions to go out in the world and do its bidding. That's where we're at today. Anyway, I wanted to immediately bring this topic up. I actually had something else completely planned, but I wanted to bring this up because of a message I got, or I should say a forum post I got from a young man. And this young man, honestly, I don't blame him for anything. This young man had a very legitimate question because of the stuff that he's been fed. And the young man asked, you know, it looked like he watched my content, is Lawai86, and I guess he's also insinuating things like ADV China and Serpent Today, you know, the stuff that I do, are they a bad influence? In that, are they funded by like places like Falun Gong? And to to kind of answer that very clearly is no, I am not funded by the Falun Gong, nor am I funded by the CIA. The CIA one was a joke back in the day because I actually thought that it was just internet trolls actually saying that I was CIA, but it actually has become a real thing that Chinese state media on a state level uses when they brand anti-China forces. They talk about things like the CIA and Falun Gong and all these things, and they lump anyone that has a negative opinion about the Chinese government as one of these entities. Not only am I not Falun Gong or am I CIA, I am completely untethered and untied to any sort of news source, religious organization, or government organization. I am completely on my own. I obviously get people that support me through like ads on YouTube, and I have patron donations, but all of those are directly because they enjoy my content. I am not a journalist, nor am I working for any sort of organization. So to clear that up, I just wanted to get that out there. But the reason that this young man was a little bit concerned was because I believe he was using some of my videos or something in dialogue with people at school. I believe he was a high schooler. And this young man was a little worried because when he looked me up, there were people out there working with the CCP, working for the CCP, with the CCP, however you want to say it, that were insinuating or saying directly that I work with Falun Gong. Now, Falun Gong is this religious/spiritual practice. And they do like Qigong. Qigong is kind of like breathing exercises, almost like Tai Chi type thing. But it has like a religious element to it. So basically they believe that through all this breathing exercise type stuff and through some old ancient Chinese culture stuff that they can surpass the benefits of medicine and heal themselves and achieve enlightenment type stuff. I'm not in like complete understanding of it, but what I do know is that China cracked down on Falun Gong because they saw that it was a movement that was gathering steam in China. What happened was they labeled it like a cult, and they started rounding up all these people that were practicing Falun Gong or promoting Falun Gong, and they would throw them into jail, into black jails, which are unregistered jails, to make them vanish basically. And you also had a situation where they would be actively selecting Falun Gong practitioners for organ harvesting, because there is a huge open organ harvest trade within mainland China where they will export organs of prisoners for a profit. And the People's Liberation Army, the actual PLA, the Army of China, is involved in that. Anyway, they would choose the Falun Gong people because they don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't harm their bodies, right? So they have healthier organs. Anyway, long story short, after this huge crackdown, it forced Falun Gong into different countries, like in the US. And they basically made it not only a political movement, but a religious movement to fight against the Chinese government because of all the persecution. Now that in turn created this huge network of media that they control. So there's like Falun Gong media. You guys might have heard of like Epoch Times and things like this. There's also YouTube channels surrounding this. Now they obviously have a very heavy lean against the Chinese government because of the persecution that their practitioners received in China, right? But what happened is because China successfully demonized it and dehumanized the people that practice Falun Gong so well and so successfully in China, that Falun Gong is almost like a swear word in China. If you said someone is Falun Gong, it just means that you're immediately to distrust anything that they say. It's almost like a pejorative term. It's something that you would say to diss someone, more or less. So what happened was they would use labels like Falun Gong to insinuate that someone is not trustworthy. So it kind of started at like the forum level. So you'd have like the Chinese nationalist forums that they were foolish enough to think I couldn't read for some reason. It's right out there on the internet. I could read what they were planning. I saw their phone calls to the police in China trying to report me as a spy. I could read every single plan and post that they had. They just put it out there for the world to see, thinking that they could hide behind their language barrier. Now, after I realized that they were going to start using that label to try to discredit me, I said, well, that's kind of hilarious, because not only am I not Falun Gong, I've actually gone out of my way to criticize Falun Gong. Now, let me explain this real quickly. I don't hate Falun Gong or Falun Gong practitioners. I have absolutely I wish them no harm. I do, however, find their way of recruiting very annoying when I get pamphlets on my car and this constant barrage of Falun Gong media. I also think that their religious practices are, for lack of a better term, somewhat ridiculous. I'm very much a scientific literalist. Like, I believe in science and I believe in medicine. So these kind of wishy-washy practices of being able to control your breathing to, perhaps levitate and cure cancer, to me is absolutely ridiculous. And I've apologized for this in the past. I've apologized to them just because I feel kind of bad about how I was poking fun. But I won't apologize for me thinking that their religion is ridiculous. So Falun Gong people, like their organization in general, has never reached out to me to try to support my work or collaborate or anything like that. What happened is that the Chinese government likes to use that label to try to discredit people. So when they throw that label at me, then immediately the domestic populace can go, oh yeah, it's just Falun Gong people. They hate the Chinese government. So of course, whatever he says is completely biased. And they have to be so fervent in pushing that narrative because it's really important for them to make sure that no one finds my voice of reason reasonable. It has to be just some kooky religion that is controlling him and funding him, like it does with other assets that they have. And that's just the downfall of the whole situation, is that I wanted to be very, very clear about this. I am not affiliated with Falun Gong, nor do I follow or support what they do. I do, however, support anybody's choice for religion or spiritual belief, and no government should ever try to dictate what somebody should believe in. That's ridiculous and it's dehumanizing. So my heart goes out to Falun Gong practitioners that had to suffer the tyrannical rule of the CCP, but I'm not affiliated with them. I did appear on China Uncensored. I appeared on, I believe, two podcasts of his on China Unscripted and then one episode of China Uncensored. And there are allegations that China Uncensored and his team, Chris Chappell and his team, are Falun Gong affiliated. Now, number one, I don't even know if that's true. I'm very skeptical about that. Number two, even if it were true, what does somebody's what do allegations of somebody's religious beliefs have to do with me appearing on a show to do an interview? It's like saying, imagine this. Imagine that a Fox News conservative, let's just say a conservative in general. A conservative in general, someone in the Republican Party goes on CNN to do an interview and they debate about something or do whatever on the interview. Does that mean that conservative person is now a liberal because he appeared on liberal media? Let's flip it around. What if somebody that's a diehard blue-blooded Democrat appeared on Fox News? Does that mean that person is now a conservative convert? What if you're a Christian and you went to go speak to someone, or your friend is a Muslim? Does that mean that you're now a Muslim because you had spoken to him? These allegations, and when you try to point fingers about attacking the person rather than their argument, is really where this whole argument falls flat on its face. Now, the reason I brought this up is because it doesn't matter. These allegations don't matter of Falun Gong, but the funny thing is that China's been pushing this soft power so hard that it's gone past the need to convince its domestic populace that what I say is wrong because I'm Falun Gong. It goes to the point where they're now getting their Western YouTuber sycophants, or the paid shills that live off of the Chinese Communist Party's dollar, or at least their promotion, by spouting CCP rhetoric or propaganda, or at least towing their line so they can get a free pass and preserve their cheap lifestyle within China. It serves them to listen to what the CCP has to say and to use their same labeling, because obviously there was a directive or something sent out to these guys when they all started jumping on this idea that both me and Serpent ZA and ADV, just the whole media stuff that we do is sponsored by the CIA and Falun Gong. All of them started latching onto this idea. And that's where it started to confuse people out in the general populace. I was thinking it would stay within the zeitgeist of the Chinese nationalist trolls will just assume I'm Falun Gong and then just use that to discredit me. But it's transformed over to Western media, to where English-speaking Americans are like, oh, I heard Falun Gong is bad, so is that in Lao 86, he's very critical of the Chinese government, so that must mean he's Falun Gong. So I wanted to address this. It's very insane the amount of money I've wasted from the Chinese Communist Party, like when they sit down with their asset managers and when they go through their books and like calculate how much money they've wasted on me, they must be starting to get furious, because your message is getting out there and it's serving to confuse the populace, but by and large, you're just feeding me material to talk about. All the Chinese government doing is spending potentially millions of dollars on me to combat my message about how evil the Chinese government is. And all you're getting in return is me just flipping your arguments on their head because they're so pig-headed and stupid. It's so transparent and easy. So congratulations, Chinese government. You just constantly feed me material. And it's worth talking about because I think it's educational. It's something you guys can be aware of. It's something you guys can go out and see, right? When somebody labels someone a Falun Gong sycophant or someone who's getting funded by the Falun Gong, it's almost now to a point where you can just kind of discount that, because unless it's actually true, which most of the time it's not, it's just used as a blanket statement to discredit someone's message. Same goes with the CIA. I told you I thought that was a joke in the beginning because it was like, oh, he must work for the CIA, because why would he be speaking out against the Chinese government? There's no comprehension out there. Why would this person go out there and speak out against the Chinese government unless they had funding from the Central Intelligence Agency? So no, I don't work for the CIA. I'm not funded by them whatsoever. Never been contacted by them. Doors open, CIA. Please hook me up with those fat checks that the Chinese government keeps insinuating you just pass out to random YouTubers. That would be fantastic. Unfortunately, I have to just live off of the ad revenue that continues to dwindle because I get demonetized all the time, and then generous support from patrons out there that actually support my message. So why was I bringing this up? Because this is a new tactic. This is something that's transformed from just the Wu Mao army over on the Chinese side of the internet to now the Western shill CCP sycophants. You guys know who I'm talking about. Using this narrative. It's a very Wu Mao narrative, and I was surprised that they latched onto it because it's so petty and ridiculous that no one in their right mind would do anything just because it's the right thing to do. They must be doing it for selfish reasons, and I'll tell you why this is. A Chinese nationalist, by and large, especially if they're going to go out there and do petty things, their nationalism stops at the dollar or the RMB. And I say this because the motivations for anyone to do anything within Chinese mainland society is usually driven by money. Now that can be true anywhere, but there's some special significance to that. I firmly believe that whatever scary nationalism you see being, pumped up by the Chinese government within China, it stops when the money stops. When you stop delivering the promise that the government is going to take care of everything and you're always going to keep on the up and up and the economic numbers are going to keep doubling every year and all this kind of ridiculous promises, there's no more poverty and there's blah blah blah, these pipe dreams. When those pipe dreams come to fruition come to fruition in people's minds and they say, wait a minute, they didn't actually deliver on those promises anymore and I'm not making as much money as I used to, that's when nationalism stops. And the thing is the reason that someone like a nationalist troll, or more importantly, even a Western YouTuber that works for the Chinese government would go out there and try to paint me as CIA or Falun Gong with these very fall-on-their-face, flat arguments that are just very transparent and easy to see through. The reason they would do that is because there's no motivation for anything except for money and maybe a little bit of fame and power. Why would anyone go out there and stand up to one of the most tyrannical governments in the entire world? Why would they do that? Unless they were funded by somebody that wanted to promote that ideology. Do you know why they do that? It's because it's exactly what they're doing. When you're working for this authoritarian government, who's paying for your trips, who's paying for your hotels, who's giving you incentive, and I suspect huge Google AdWords campaigns on your channels to promote them because I've seen them pop up as ads before. I've actually seen these Western YouTubers, I've seen their videos pop up as advertisements. So someone's funding them in terms of trying to promote them out there. To see massive rapid growth with almost a completely Chinese user base that has to use a VPN to go onto YouTube to watch this material that promotes the Chinese government is super fishy, number one. And number two, it's exactly what they're accusing me of. I don't work for the CIA and I don't work for Falun Gong, but you guys work for the CCP. So what motivation would you have to promote the CCP's material unless you were getting some sort of compensation, whether it be promotion from the government, whether it's free trips, or even financial compensation? Well, I think you have your answer right there. You're doing it for those things. It's very clear and it's very transparent. So it's kind of like a criminal that wants to paint someone else in a bad light. They can't attack their argument because at the end of the day, all you're doing is bringing more eyes onto a controversial topic that the Chinese government doesn't even want you talking about. When I bring up something that embarrasses, it's really funny. I can check the metric of how effective my material is. If I put out a video that's critical of an aspect of Chinese society, I won't get any sort of backlash whatsoever from that. If I put out some sort of video that's critical of the Chinese government and I have concrete facts or evidence to back that up, at least based on my own anecdotal proof that I have of dealing with the Chinese government when I lived there, I will get relentlessly attacked. And that's when the attacks just don't even stop, because the main enemy of the Chinese government, the main enemy to any of these people that promote the Chinese government it's not healthy debate, it's the truth. When you speak the truth and when you say things that have directly happened to you, everything that I say has happened to me is true. When I say the things that have happened to me and I explain myself in a very, very straightforward manner, and then I go to attack the principles of the Chinese government that I find abhorrent and against the nature of human rights. When I stand up for human rights and try to speak up for the little man that can't talk, I get attacked relentlessly. More than most people can imagine. And I don't let this on very much because I don't want to give more power to the attackers, but you can't imagine how much grief and abuse that I take from these kind of people. And that's because the worst enemy of the Chinese government is the truth. If you speak the truth, it's something that they work tirelessly and spend millions of dollars on to cover up. Look at how they act in the face of any sort of allegation. It's smearing this, it's racism this, it's how dare you bring this up, this is absolutely not true. Meanwhile, never backing anything up. When you speak the truth and you speak out against the Chinese government and its sycophants and its Wu Mao army and anybody that works with them, you are attacked personally. You are now CIA, you are now Falun Gong, you are now... Look what happened to the Australian journalist Vicky Xu. She's a Chinese nationality, she's Australian nationality, but racially Chinese. Because she spoke out against the Uyghur genocide, or what was happening in Xinjiang, she is now a sex addict and a drug addict, and they will go after, like actual state media will go after you and say that you are all of these horrible things that have nothing to do with what you've brought up. Look what happened when a Chinese government employee, one of the ambassadors of China, went out there and held up 2 photos of 2 Muslim Uyghur minority women and said that their arguments are nonsense, allegations of rape are nonsense because they were actually sluts. When you have a state, when you actually have a government going out on the international stage to slut shame or to point out somebody's basically allegations of somebody's misbehaviors out there, instead of actually attacking their argument, you know who's on the right side at that point. When you have a state media enterprise, when you have a state enterprise opening an entire media enterprise to silence YouTube opinions, because that's why that they've created this army of like Western YouTubers that consistently are just doing Chinese propaganda. You have a situation where these guys are consistently going out there every time something is in question, every time the West or anyone brings up an allegation of what China's doing in terms of human rights abuses, they'll go out there to defend the Chinese government. When you have a state that has to hire YouTubers that are English teachers or bar owners or whatever, when you have to have a state government to do that instead of journalists, when you have to actually just promote YouTubers, and again, I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, I'm also a YouTuber, but when you have a state government to put them on a pedestal, number one, you're empowering these people to think that they're doing something incredibly and funding what they're doing. But it also looks unbelievably embarrassing if you do any research into these people. And again, I get it, like, you don't want to be on the wrong side. You're living in China, you don't want to leave, you want to keep your lifestyle going and stuff. You'll take these jobs and you'll promote the Chinese government. You'll do these things because you think that that's the safest thing to do in that moment. But I don't feel that embarrassed for them. I feel embarrassed for the Chinese government that has to hire people like this. It's just unbelievably transparent what's happening right now. And I do want to throw a message out there to these guys. Winston and I both called, we said on the podcast, and we typically call everything correctly, that because there's so much turmoil and so many allegations coming out about the genocide within Xinjiang in Western China, we suspected and we called that they were going to have the Western YouTubers in China to go to Xinjiang. We're like, in the next few weeks or so, you'll probably see these YouTubers in Xinjiang, promoting Chinese propaganda, saying that there's no genocide, saying that there's no forced labor, saying there's no rapes, saying that there's no vocational camps and all this stuff. You're gonna have these American and Canadian and whatever YouTubers over in Xinjiang promoting this stuff. And it will be on the government's dime. It will be sponsored by someone like CGTN. And guess what? That's what happened. That's exactly what happened. These British, Canadian, American YouTubers ended up in Xinjiang literally promoting genocide denial and standing on the side of one of the worst authoritarian regimes in the world. And I understand, if you were to ask them a year ago, do you think you would be in Western China promoting genocide denial? They would say absolutely not. But that's what happens when you work with China, when you work with the Chinese government, is that you get caught up in it. If you accept the narrative, then you can't deviate from that narrative. You can't just do a little bit and then back out. It's kind of like people that get involved in the drug trade. You can't just dip your toe in the water and then say, okay, that's enough for me. You see how far it's gone. It went from, oh, I like this tourist area, they grow really good vegetables, to, oh my God, there's no genocide in Xinjiang. I'm gonna now be a foreign correspondent YouTuber in Xinjiang saying that there's no genocide and shitting on the lives of millions of Uyghur people that have to suffer under an authoritarian police state. It's insane how quickly that can happen. It's insane the mental gymnastics you have to convince yourself of to accept that narrative. Now, to circle back, what I wanted to say was China and the Chinese government, the mafia-like tactics that they use will continuously try to undermine someone's message. They will continuously try to make somebody a demon before you've even heard their argument. So when you go out there and you see when you see opposing opinions to things that, when you see opposing opinions to allegations of whatever's happening in China, when you see people speaking out against human rights abuses, when you see people bringing up the things that the Chinese government does that they don't want you to hear about, keep this in mind before you discount somebody's opinion because they're labeled CIA or Falun Gong or whatever. They're probably not. And it's just a cheap tactic that the Chinese government uses to discredit people. Again, the greatest enemy to the CCP in the end is the truth. And with people like myself and Winston, that's the scariest thing. When your opinions are yours alone and you serve no master like myself, when I wake up and I hear about something that I'm upset about that the Chinese government is doing, and I offer you my perspective based on my experiences, that's all it is. And weirdly enough, that is the most terrifying thing to the Chinese government. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I want to say thank you to everyone on patreon.com/lawai86. You guys are amazing. You guys are the only reason we can do this. So I really appreciate it. So I don't have to get funding from the Falun Gong and the CIA, because apparently that's what the Chinese government likes to label me as. And unfortunately, I just have to rely on the generous donations from you guys. So I appreciate it.
We have come to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Making video is time consuming and hard work. Kindly click the subscribe button and click the like button so as to encourage us to make the videos you like. Thank you and have a good day.